Hey everybody, John Morris here, just saying hi and getting things rolling. And we had a great section 1 there. We mixed up all the drums. We find out about using our 6-band equalizer and the compressor. I'm going to go in at the start of this and talk a little bit more in detail about what a compressor is and why it's all over the place in a great mix. And we're going to do a couple other things too. First of all, let's get things rolling. Let me see if I can get this to work. Basically, I got the mix station up now. We were actually I wanted you to see the actual audio tracks in there. Let me see if I can get this thing to move here. And this way and this way. There we go. That should go full screen there. No, we're going to put it back full screen there. And anyway, here's our tracks. Look at these tracks. Mammoth tracks. Look at all of these tracks. But first, let's take a little look here. You might be wondering, it does sound pretty good in here. And this is my home station that I'm going to give you a little look at in Section 3. And all it is, basically, is this Mac laptop with a couple of really nice, let's get this one up to, this is our Yamaha HS5s. And let me get, so we can get a little bit closer look. So this is what I'm mixing through. Great speakers. Now, you think that you've got to have some big mammoth speakers. And to some extent, it is true. You know, when you have somebody who is writing a big check, they like to listen to them through a big speaker. So, you know, when we get to the end, I throw them up on the big speakers that blast and are back there right at the couch. And the nice, luxurious couch and Tanglewood recording is where the person that writes the check for the session. So you want it to sound big, but when you're mixing, that's not necessarily a truth. A long time ago, they found out that the smaller speakers that are flatter make a better mix. Now, the great speakers of Yamaha and STMS are just a great speaker. They're kind of expensive, but affordable. But these days, the HS5s are really a nice speaker to mix through. Your mixes, when you put them in a car stereo, when you put them in any stereo, just sound good. It's a good speaker to mix with, and that's what you're using. And the 5 stands for the 5-inch speakers here. And the horns, very flat response. You can get into this. And you notice the 0 on the room control, not taking away any, and the high trim is at 0.2, and the actual +4 is where we like to run these at. So I just wanted you to get a picture for, you know, hey, it isn't going to kill you. You got your laptop, and then you just go out and you get a nice pair of these. These are not, won't hurt your pocketbook too bad. So you can go out and take a look at those some more. Let's jump back to the mix station here. And listen, go ahead and let's take a listen to this right now. Now, what I'm soloing it up is what we're going to work on today. Wow, this gentleman is just an incredible bass player, but he's got an incredibly expensive bass. Look at it. Just by itself, it sounds great. There's not a lot to do on this. Let's put a let's see. Try to find. Let's go up and get an EQ. There's not a lot to do, but let's do a little bit playing. So here we are. Let's get this out of the way. Move me up over here a little bit here. Okay, let's go get some bottom. Wow, that's pretty. Yeah, just add a little bit of bottom and. Oh yeah, just a little bit of punch up at about 120 seems to do it. I don't want to go after any high end on this bass. This is jazz. This is pretty good. Now the next thing, if you've got your bass where you want it to be at, then you want to check this out with the kick. Oh yeah. Listen, they're living together really well because they're kind of not in each other's way, but they're just kind of getting around. Oh wow, that's spectacular. Just so not a lot. We might get a little conservative. And let me tell you why you get a little conservative, because you know you're bumping something on the bottom end. You know, 5 or 6 dB is a lot of dB, but then that's the first thing somebody does in their car stereo. They bump the bass. So this might be blowing out the speakers. It really sounds great in these ultra flat. So I'm getting a little bit more conservative. Boy, that bass sounds unbelievable. Great. Let's put everything else in. Boy, it's sounding great. All right, well, let's press on a little bit. And we've got basically, you know, the bass all together. We just did that. Now, before we leave the bass, though, let's do one quick thing. And I'm going to put in a dynamics. That has to do with the loudness and extremes of low to high. And so this is a compressor. So let's take a look at the compressor right now and see that the controls, the attack, that when, in other words, a quick attack is what you're looking for when that bass really hits it. And the release is keeping it a little while longer. You know, he's very sustaining, still keeps out when in your staccato in that mode. Incidentally, you know, the ratio that everybody usually uses is 4-to-1 compression. You know, you can go up to 3-to-1 or 5-to-1, a little less, and then you just work that. This actually is a model of the Universal Audio 1176, and one of these, oh my gosh, they're $4,000 for one of these. You have 96 of these. These are very, very similar to the 1176. It's easy to operate. You have to work hard to mess it up, and it's just, it goes in fast and then you can go. But so what are we talking about here on a compressor? Let's take a look here. Move some stuff out of the way. We don't need this anymore. Here, a compressor. What is a compressor? This is some pictures of a compressor here. It says here, the compressor is a dominant dynamic processor. It plays a vital role in the effective dynamic processing for music, film, TV, radio, and before I said it really had a lot to do with the loudness. You know, in a sports game, that's when they had to have something. You know, like a guy would be talking quietly when they were getting ready to hike the ball in a football game. And then when the guy makes a great catch, you know, he's screaming at the top of his lungs. Yet, the quiet and the loud are the same volume. But you can still hear somebody screaming. It kind of moves them in close and moves them physically in the proximity of things. So, once again, I just covered that. Threshold, ratio. Now notice this is a Focusrite, and it's got the ratio is dialable, 3 to 1, 4 to 1. I was talking about that before, but you know, ultimately that 1176, it sounds so good, only doesn't give you a lot of control. But you know, there's the attack and release, and that's basically it on a compressor. And so anyway, compression is, let me go up here a little bit more. We talked about that quickly, threshold and ratio. The threshold, when does it start? You know, when does it start to do the work? Now that's really getting specific, and that is the ride. And you can see these channels here. And the ride of the song might be at, you know, -10 or maybe even 0 dB. And then once it starts getting louder, at a certain point you want it to start compressing. You don't want it to compress when it's down lower. So that's what the threshold is. And then of course we talked about the attack. Is it a quick attack? You want it to jump in and start working when it comes in. And then the release, you don't. If you want a slow release, if it's very sustaining in the instrument. So here is a couple of other quick little parameters to take a look at. Here's the hard knee and the soft knee. And what the hard knee does, the hard knee pulls it off quicker. At 4-1, the soft knee, it works a little slower. Just a couple of really, now here is the secret weapon, the output gain. See, back in the day, you know, the compressor was used on a very valuable instrument or vocal in the band. And so that way you could get an extra bump in loudness in there. So anyway, that's how a compression works. And so anyway, that's what we're doing there. And you notice it smoothed out the bass that we were just looking at. So at any rate, let's jump back into the mix. See, this is a good point to control the general output. And you see you got a little bit louder on that too. This is when you want that compressor to work. Okay, good. Let's go, we'll get rid of this and then we'll press on. Let's listen to, the keys are pretty smooth sounding. Here, I'm going to put myself back up here. Usually the keys are, you know, an instrument that is not very spiky, you know, unless it's a piano program. Let's take a look at what we have. Now, a lot of times, you heard me just talking. Now, did you see that this bass was up at +5? That's running hot. That's coming in hot, you know. So you have, that bass needs to be controlled. That's why we have that compressor up there and we have the EQ as well. Let's start looking for some keys here. Okay, so this is the keyboard. See, it's down at -15. There's no, you know, and you can turn it down. Now there should be another keyboard coming in here soon. I'm looking for it here. It's got to be right. I'm waiting. What happened to it? We had just a touch. What I did was I add just a 59 milliseconds. Now, a second is just to really kind of make it sound a little ambient, but not make it sound distant. And it's important to note that a second is 1,000 milliseconds. So this is very little. These days, you might they call it latency too. If you're talking to somebody, you know, maybe through FaceTime, there's about 137 milliseconds, but you can hear that. But I wanted to just add an ambient nature that makes it kind of cruise a little bit more. So we have that up here on the pitch shift is fine. And I'm just adding a nice little, this comes with the Pro Tools package. And there's many units like this in Logic Pro X. So let's listen to that again. Now, notice that here it's just, it's a little hollower. There you go. Now let's listen to, and it smooths it and fattens it up too. Still listening to this keyboard. Let's just listen to the bass and the keys. Yeah, that key is sounding pretty good. It's got a good tone. I don't think we need to use any EQ on that. It sounded pretty good. I'm going to look around and see what else we have around here. That sounded pretty good. Let's go hunting a little bit back on the, we can go ahead and get rid of this. That did the trick. It just really smoothed out. Now, you notice here that we're looking at some tracks. Sometimes it's best to, you can go back, see how you can go back farther and away. And now you can just go down and look at the tracks. Ah, here's a little spot here where we had a little something going around. Now we were, let's see, let's go back and solo this back. Let's go. These are soloed. This is cool. We have the bass soloed in this. Let's go ahead, go back. And so that's soloed. And we see it looks to me like there's, now when you're getting into little tiny pieces, let's solo this up so we can actually, are we moving here or what? Oh, we've really gotten back on these tracks a little bit here. Let's get in a little closer to that. Okay, and so right about here, we're going to solo this. Now we're going to go back to this right here. And I think right about there, we're going to get what we need to on this. Hold on a second. Let's get this. This thing is kind of getting in my way here. There we go. Window. Let's go up to here again. And let's see the transport. Transport disappeared on us, so we had to go find the transport. We have some other, it seems like it's cranking along here. And go ahead, let's put these off. So let's kick it back to the start here. Let me get this out of the way here. So at any rate, I think we're going to conclude this today. So we learned today about the bass is critical that we use dynamic compressors in that. And we also learned that on section 1 how the drums definitely need some help in there as well. So at any rate, we're going to come in and do the final mix in section 3. We're going to find out about doing a mix. Also, we're going to find out in section 3, we'll be learning about bouncing. What do you do, you know, in terms of how to bounce? And most DAWs have a bounce capability, and believe it or not, it's kind of a strange term, but that's when you bounce out a mix of a song. And actually, you can see just where it's living right here, bounce. So it bounced to disk. You know, they don't even use disk anymore. But and the output source. So we're gonna, at the very end of this, once you get your perfect mix is when you bounce it. It bounces out as a wave here. And look, there's a little thing right here. You can check this for an MP3 that way you can email this out instantaneously, but keep a wave is a lot larger. You know, a wave could be, you know, 40 or 50 meg. A MP3 is right around 4 meg. See, it's a big difference in size and how quickly you can get your song out or your client's song out on the internet. So anyway, everybody have a great day, be safe, and we're just about done with section 2 here. And so at any rate, everybody look forward to section 3 coming up soon, and we will talk to you then. So have a great day.